Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, depending on where in the known world you are. Welcome to the Crown Between True Roses. I am Countess Lilya of Lockhart.
And I am Countess Beatrix, and thank you for joining us. Firstly, we'd like to acknowledge the lands of the kingdoms on which we reach out to today. We come here together in the spirit of fellowship, deepening of skills, sharing of knowledge. And in this context, I, Countess Beatrice Maria Malatesta, on behalf of my kingdom, acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we gather. We recognise their continuing connection to land and culture, and we pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and to the elders from other communities who may be here today. So today we're very excited to meet with Queen Maisie of Trimaris. Thank you so much
for having me.
You were one of the first people that responded to our emails about doing this kind of interview online. So it kind of made us both feel very reassured that there was an interest in from the royalty of the known world to actually be interviewed as well. So first of all, thank you for that. Much appreciated. And we interviewed your king last week, and he was extremely passionate and very, very gracious of his time. So we'd like to thank him as well at this time. But he answered a lot of our standard questions, so we're going to probably go off book and ask you some very personal questions about your fighting and being a female fighter in the SCA as well. So thank you. The first thing that we were going to ask is a question that we have asked most of our royals, is that we want to know what you believe your kingdom is known for across the known world.
Let's see. I feel Trimaris is known for its fabulous hospitality. Something that's a little bit different about our kingdom is we have very large households, very strong households, but we also have a kingdom because of our geographical smallness as well. Another thing that's very interesting about our kingdom is that we can do events outside all year long. We're not hindered by weather. It's warm all year, so we can have camping events all year long. Another thing that is a little bit different about our kingdom is our events run from Friday evening to Sunday morning. And with my not the norm. We have really fantastic people. Our artisans are amazing. Really, I think though our hospitality is what we enjoy the most. Because of where we are, we have a lot of people come on vacations here, with their families and such. So we get to see a lot of people from a lot of different places, as well as they'll attend the event, they'll come visit mom and dad, or they'll go to one of the theme parks, which are centrally located. The center of our state is the most visited place in the world. Believe it or not.
Oh.
Even more than the Paris Disney, it seems to be the spot.
So do you have a lot of baronies in your kingdom or principalities? Because we don't have any principalities in Lockhart.
We have 6 baronies. Let's see. And we don't have any principalities because but our population is, much larger than several states. So,
what is the population there?
I don't know right now. I know the county. Here's a little county that I live in. Our school system is larger. The county school system has more schools than most states in the United States.
Wow.
So that's like I mean, I don't know the exact numbers because it is so much. You know, we have pictures and but it's a lot. But I mean, you have a lot of farmland, a lot of open spaces as well. You know, we're not necessarily.
Oh, see, I wouldn't have expected that from Florida, because the picture that we have is it's very, very packed and very beachy, and what is promoted on the magic box is what we see.
Most of our population is on the coasts, and of course, you know, because everybody wants to live on the beach or near the water. But we do have our big cities, you know, Tallahassee, St. Augustine, Tampa, Miami. Those are where our dense population is. But we do have a lot of horse land and farm as well. And of course,
I'm having issues listening to you because it's glitching just slightly on my side of things. So I do apologize if I look slightly like earful. So sorry about that. I wanted to know, you've been queen a couple of times previously, and Karen said that that your partner was very gracious in agreeing to let you be fought for by somebody else. Off screen, he also told us that that you were an inspiration. How does one live up to that legacy?
No. I love people. I love my friends. I love to take care of them. You know, a lot of these people I've grown up with. You know, I started the SCA when I was 19. Yeah. I met my husband. I was 21 when I met my husband, and he had been in the SCA when he was 16. So we just all grew up together. Like I said, I love people. I love my friends, and it's a thing that I live up to. I just really care about.
So I'm going to ask you a question that we do ask all of our crowns, which is, what are some of the traditions in your kingdom that bring you joy?
Ooh, there's so many. I love the tradition for elevation. Everyone has an opportunity to show their persona, an opportunity to write their own script, which is not happen in every kingdom, as well as our coronations. Our coronations are, you decide, you write your script. It's a lot of theater, which I think is really great. Some of our medallions, tokens, things like that, because we're a smaller kingdom, it may have been passed down through 4 or 5 of marriages in that, but we know them because we've all been here, and you know, see those. The more emotional, I think, thing with that. You know, we have some fun traditions, like we have when we can all be together. We have a good friend of ours, Duke Vitor, created midnight meat. So when everybody's out time and singing, and someone with the grill out, we all have meat together, so, which is a lot of fun. Some things just stumble into tradition, you know how that happens, or some of the small things that are tradition are very, I think, important. One tradition we have is that while every queen and king are able to choose their champion, a tradition that has gone through the years since we became a kingdom is the second place winner and the third place winner is queen's champion. So if crown at the time decides to go with that, then you know they get to see exactly firsthand what if they have never won before by being in court with you and experiencing this. So I think that's a good tradition. We have some traditional tournaments, which are pretty great. People look to. Yeah. So many things.
There are some of the traditions that you've explained, particularly around the peerage ceremonies. Lockhart does very much the same, because we are a large geographical kingdom, but in reality we are a smaller kingdom in terms of our numbers. And there's many people who know others, and we do have the medallions, and we also have a tradition of handing down chains or links from chains here, regardless of the peerage, because the fealty is sworn. And so I wear a chain with my medallion on it as a peerage chain. Yeah. So
Right.
it's an amazing tradition, and it's a big honor, especially being asked for your medallion.
Oh yes, it is. One of my proteges, I'm pretty involved with our war golf orgs, and have been. I've been to all of them but one, and administratively, staff-wise. And one of my proteges, I introduced her to a lovely lady that I grew who was running Volunteer Point. That ended up becoming one of her loves, my protege. And when she was elevated, I received the medallion from the lady that counted it. Well, so that was very special for me to be able to get her, even though that can kind of go outside of kingdom as well. So
Yeah, no, that's absolutely lovely.
I'm a great believer in, although we're reenacting history, part of the joy of the SCA is that we are living our own history through the SCA. What are the parts of your history that give you the most pride and that you feel an emotional connection to?
Well, as far as fighting, service,
Both. Let's start with both.
Service-wise, one of the things that is a tradition in my household with my proteges, which I really love to see, and it's geared me. Each one of my proteges, when I go to take another, makes the belt for the next.
It's a clever idea.
Their persona, and then immediately when they join my house or join our house, they have something that is handmade for them by a sister or brother, a house member. So, there's been so many years. Fighting wise, I have a lot of lineage things from my night when I first started that were given to me recently in his passing. And the sword that he was king of Meridies when we were still part of Meridies. And the sword that he used to make Trimaris a kingdom, because we didn't have a state that everybody swore fealty on, is now my sword. And it's huge. I actually wore it at the nation ceremony. It's like way up here on my, but that is something that I treasure, and we're actually using that, which isn't the norm. You have swords of state that are in our. That's what we're using as our sword of state for the ring. And I have their hats. There's a lot of my husband, traditions within our household and his squire. I guess everybody kind of makes their own, meaningful. Yeah. I'm really, one of the things I do, well, here's two things. When we first have a newcomer or, someone actually you know, not former necessarily, but someone join our group, or just someone that I've been looking after, or someone I just really want to integrate, good friend. I will do things for years until they're elevated. Elevation, I put them back. You know, remember when you made this? The first piece of embroidery when I was teaching them, or something like that. So I hold on to things like that. I'm super sentimental, and another thing that we do within personally is, and it was brought to me by someone else, and I've also suggested it for other people's elevations and things, or just, you know, a wedding, whatever is happening at an event that's significant. Secretly, we have friends from all over the known world mail a bead, and then we string it for them to wear. So they have representation of all their friends from everywhere during this moment of whatever it is that is happening significant, whether it's a or a marriage or a, you know.
That's beautiful. Very, very beautiful. So Kern explained to us that you're doing a Boadicea reign, is that correct? So you are the leader of the army?
Yeah, well, when we were able to go out and fight, yes. I actually beheaded my predecessors.
Wow, that's cool. Not good, but good.
Be able to see the theater of it. I've actually taken it by force, so which is not the norm. Again, in other kingdoms, being able to write your script, and as long as the people who are before you agree, it's, you know, great way to go out. I actually, my husband, D. Gregory, walked up with gifts and slit their throats, and then put them on the ground, and then covered them with shrouds. And as they bled out, everyone swore fealty to us over their dead bodies. So,
Very theatrical.
you know, back, and you know, then our banners rolled, and then there we were. This last one, I beheaded to my king, to be king, and I a little bit different. It was fun. And all the blood rushed out of my dress. That was great.
That does sound like a lot of fun. We kind of have the same flexibility here in Lockhart, where there have been some coronations that have had that theatre. So Viking kings being carried out on a shield, yeah, that that kind of thing. I know when we reigned our coronation, my predecessors were a couple who were forced into a partnership for the reign. So there were two houses merged together, and then they dissolved the partnership, and the crown was left on the throne. And Henri walked up and claimed it, and then yeah. So which is not normal, because we usually have the kings crowning the successors, whereas that's very rare for a king to crown himself. Yeah.
Another thing that we do with is we crown them on the field immediately right after the time. Unless rather wait till court, which is not something that's always done in other kingdoms. No.
Do you have any other traditions around your crown tournaments?
The tournament is usually decided by the reigning crown. It's usually the standard, but you know, sometimes last rounds are all weapon style. It's just the tournament itself, set. So, we do have the champion of Trimaris tournament, which is like our big tournament crown. That's the one, and I think that's when it's actually harder because it has a lot of people that enter it. So one of the traditions.
How many people on average would you get for a crown tournament?
It's ranged anywhere as low as 10 to upwards of 25, 27. I believe the second one, my one was 20. We don't have a ton of people our crown lists, and we don't have no more kingdoms coming in, multiple kingdoms, so our crown lists aren't giant, but they do last all day. So, it is the big event.
Have you ever entered a crown tournament as a combatant?
Huh.
Sorry?
I have not.
Oh.
And it just hasn't happened. I don't know.
I think you have to be in the right headspace to actually to enter a crown tournament, both as a fighter and as a consort. So, yeah.
I think for me, with my husband, especially, that's his time, and I want to be focused on making sure that he's taken care of, and that my attention is focused on what he's doing, not what I have to do next. I want to be all there.
Yep.
Because it's a lot to do when you win, so you want to make sure that you're focused. And I think another caveat to that is being a fighter. I love to watch fighting. So and Crown List is the best. So I want to watch exactly what's happening on the field, especially when we're entered, and I like to know where things are and what's happening with the tournament.
Do you have any rituals around what you do for a crown tournament? You mentioned that you're focused on your consort. What does that look like for you?
Well, I make sure they're hydrated, of course. If they need people away from them, if they're out of breath, whatever, they can't talk. That aspect, but more so just really focusing and understanding, where they're at, frustrated, or with themselves. I want to make sure that I'm paying attention, so I can say that, hey, I understand this happened, whatever. And I always make sure that I'm right on the side every time. Okay, again, because I love it.
So I'm going to ask you about the Cross of St. Joan. This is not an award that we have in our kingdom, but it is an award that I believe you brought in as queen to your kingdom.
I created that award during my second reign, and at the time, as many female fighters, and the wording of the award is it's not, which is a big misconception. It's not like, I'm a girl, I fight, I get the award. It's very much it's for anyone, male or female, who inspire women to take the field. Those that take the time to train, females, and not that females necessarily have to overcome a lot of differences, but we are smaller for the most part. The way I explained it to a friend of mine was, you may walk into, let's say, a fire station and see all these big guys doing fire stuff. And if you're a female that comes into the SCA, and you see a female in the field and you're like, wow, you know, because we're like 1 in 60 or so. And so you're like, wow, I can do that. So if you go in the fire station and you see a female doing that, wow, I can do that. So it's just a reassurance of, you know, acknowledging that these females are an inspiration in that way, and that they are veteran fighters who inspire, and anyone who assists with that inspiration. Cross St. Joan is very dear to my heart. It was, I wish I had wording for it. When I read into court about, you know, the inspiration and what was all of that coming together. And I'm so glad that it did come together. We have very few people that have it. It's really given because of what it is. I don't know, other kingdoms have not.
So are there any other awards that are solely related to your kingdom? We have a beautiful award called the Lockhart Order of Grace, which is given to people who are who show diversity and courtesy and honor through different circumstances within their SEA career, or who inspire the royalty. And it's only given out once a reign to that person. Traditionally, the Queen's allowed to do it, but occasionally kings have gone, no, I know who I want to give it to. So do you in your kingdom have any awards like that?
We have one that is given usually once per reign, and it's called the Trefoil Argent, and it's for presence, and meaning that in every aspect of what you're doing, your persona is beautiful, exuding, you know, the chivalry and all the aspects of the wonderful parts of the SCA. I really love that one. It's a very special one. Truth be told, my very favorite awards to give out is an award of arms. It's great. Our augmentation of arms, which of course you can, you know, incorporate the Kingdom's device. We have, which is for service to our kingdom, commitment for our kingdom. But we have several awards like that, you know, that are in service. Fighting. One of well, there's two that do not carry any precedence at all. We have what is called the Ring of Chivalry, and it's given within our barony, not all of them, and it is voted in by the ladies of the barony, unanimous vote. It has, you know, everyone has to agree, and you receive the Ring of Chivalry for just being perfect, wonderful, you know, all the things, the kindest, be the kindest, you know. We have another one that is the Lion d'Or, which is basically the Badass of the Day award. You know, if you're on the field, and I don't know how else to say it, it's there's no precedence carried with it, but they do compare how many each one of them have. How many do you have? So they're competitively. I actually won mid-round when I went to visit for their candle mass, and that's the only thing I gave out, but blown away by it. So,
I've noticed the helms behind you in the tapestry. Is there a story behind them?
I have that. He's passed away. Amazing gentleman. Loved, everyone loved him. You know, no one could say a bad word about him. Wonderful. And his helmet was his gift to me. This one here belonged to Sergeant First Class Paul Ray Smith, who happened to be my husband's best friend. And they made that together. It was the helmet champion tournament. He received the Congressional Medal of Honor for saving 100 of his troops in Iraqi freedom in 2005. So that was something that was passed on. And I made a plaque, which will now go to the champion. And there's accoutrements. There's the helmet. There's a plaque that has everyone's name on it in the order that they've won. That's another thing. How many times is your name on the plaque? So they compare. So there's that. It has everybody's name on it. And then now the other with his picture.
Would he have been comfortable with it?
Huh? What's that?
Would he be comfortable with that acknowledgement himself? Or was he one of these people who shied away from the spotlight?
Very much so. Well, you know, he couldn't really. He had this amazing smile. So he'd walk in a room and, you know, everybody would notice he was there. But he was a soldier, and he just would have said I was doing my job. And, you know, he's had training facilities, and he has schools after him. His military offices, post offices. It was a big event when that happened.
Yeah. I think it's important to recognize that people go above and beyond, and they may never be recognized as a peer within the kingdom, but they've still left a huge impact on those who survive and ensure that the kingdom is a better place because of their participation. So I think that's absolutely amazing and very beautiful.
We miss him, but we like it a lot. But we still, and it's read, the story's read at every tournament. So those that didn't know him still.
That's lovely. Following on from that, what would you be one of your proudest moments in your SCA life?
Wow. It's not one, but my proudest moments are watching, or people that I've watched grow up. Happy. I think that's a big day for me as well. So.
So you started at 19. That's a lifetime. Like if you had murdered somebody, you would have had more time in jail. Has it changed the SCA? Like obviously you've changed within the SCA because you've matured as a person. So how did you get started? Like were you walking past a park and you saw people hitting each other with sticks? Was it, in my case, somebody said, you'll love this, you can get drunk with your friends wearing pretty clothes? Like, how did you start in the SCA?
I had some friends of friends that were in the SCA, and they had talked to me about it. And I actually saw the fighting, and I said, how do I get to hit people like that and not get arrested?
Yeah.
Fun. And the only time I haven't fought since was when I was the guys that brought me in were great. I'm still in touch with many of them. I think I'm the only one that fights from, you know. I had two very great people, Mr. who were then lady. They helped with costume creation and everything before I went to my first event. So I felt really comfortable with them and, you know, with people that I had known before I went. But it was perfect timing for me. I was in college. It was cheap. I could go away for a weekend. It was great getting to meet some wonderful people. And I know that I'm a better person for being, the people I met, the people that were older than me that I could look up to. I mean, I was a kid, a lot of them had a lot to do with, some ideals that I really embraced. So it was interesting. Then I met my husband at fire practice. Our big dates were getting a gallon of water and going to different fighter practices during the day on Sunday because, we didn't have any money. We grew up together doing this.
How do you balance having a family and being queen? Because we obviously, our king and queen at the moment have a toddler who is absolutely adorable, but it's a very different reign when you have responsibilities outside of the SCA that are your priority. So,
let's see. So my first reign, I didn't have way easier. Well, hard because it was first, but easier as far as that went. The scheduling was the hardest. My second reign, they were, and they pretty much did everything we did. They had the chairs in the front with us. They threw out things to everybody. They really participated. We also had people that would, in our village, everybody wants to love on the kids, and we were very fortunate. A lot of our really love our kids. Our kids were very enriched by knowing all these different people, and they all taught them something so different. Now, this reign, the biggest conflict I had was when he first won. It was volleyball season. It was my daughter's last year. She was, and she also had club volleyball. So juggling the volleyball tournaments, weekends away. Yeah. But then this happened. She's graduated. She's moved to the University of Florida. So she's there now. And my other lives at home, but she's 20. So I've done this every decade. I've reigned every decade. And they actually both drove over and brought their friends and came to my coronation.
oh no!
Wow.
So as they got involved in sports, and once they started to drive, they started doing their own things. So they didn't really participate in young adults, but they still see all the friends and everything. But they did come over. One of my favorite things is all of them sitting on my lap, even though they're 20 and 18. It's still.
So I was going to ask you if you knew anything about Lockhart before we actually emailed you and said, hey, come along and play with us. So
I know that your devices, the kingdom device, is very different from most. It looks, I mean, of course, as you look at the kingdoms and their ages, they evolve. They have different devices. But yours is different. It's more, I love it. I think it's pretty. That was, my niece actually is living in New Zealand right now.
Nice.
She flew over and bought a van and is caravanning around New Zealand, living.
well, if she gets stuck anywhere, you get in contact with us because we know people who will save her.
So far, she says it's really wonderful. She's having a great time. She sends lots of pictures. She's actually working a job at a hospital right now to make more money. Places, but it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. And it's such a lovely place to be able to just do that drive around. I love New Zealand. I love going over there, and especially going to events over there. The populace, that's hospitality, absolute hospitality, and friendly people, and just lovely. Yeah.
Wow.
So speaking of events, what's your favorite event? Yours personally?
In Kingdom? I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
in Kingdom.
So we have a lot of great events. My first event was Baronial Bash, which is and actually the barony was a barony for our kingdom became a kingdom or anything was here. So Baronial Bash, Hero of the Chalice are our baronial events, which another event I really, really love is Panhandle Churches, which is one we created during our first reign. And our barony in town had a name, but full of it. And our first reign, we turned it into a war between us and the because it's on the only board. I was like, we might as well fight somebody who's not us. It's really grown. It's a fun day of, that you can fighting for your, lots of kids games, art. It's that we have a big gambling tavern that a master does lovely. So it's just it has everything, and you get to see people and go for it.
So you get to be fully submerged in the actual like atmosphere of the event then.
Yeah. There's so many that come to mind. I love themed events I love art side. I'm an artist. I love, looking at all the art, and our scribes are amazing. And just so many. Just a little bit of every different kind. I love. Yeah, I get to see my friends. That's the best part.
Agree.
So with not being able to get to events, how have you been keeping sane during your reign?
I do a lot of artwork. I am a graphic designer profession. Okay. So I've come up with a ton of projects. I started originally just sewing a lot of garb, and then I went on to, I've been painting furniture, I've been creative stuff, trying to come up with fun ideas for Populous. I don't know if you know. We've done one of them so far. Creations of craft, which is classic. We have just a hoot on Friday nights. There's just trying to find fun things for everybody. And I've been going to the post office a lot.
And I also noticed that you have the story of Maisie and Kern as a Facebook page. How did that come about?
I did it when he won because I wanted to not only include, of course, we shared with our Populous page, but I wanted a record chronological order of our reign. So if anybody wanted to take a look at it, it would be there with just the things that pertain to, our pictures, our sing-alongs, the things that we were doing as a crown. So we have a story, our whole and go forth before we couldn't have it. I had a chariot for opening ceremonies. Our party was all set. We had, our themed Known World party. So we have a storyline that people can follow. As far as the Roman and Boudica thing. Yeah, a little bit of whatever.
And you did this with your husband in the last reign as well, is that correct? You kind of had your own story set up?
Yes.
Yeah. It's for me, it was an amazing, when I found the page, I was like, that is great, because I reigned many years ago. And most of it, I have snippets and moments that are bright and shiny, but a lot of it you miss when you're on the throne, because there's a lot of things happening behind you, or people running around doing things for you, and you don't actually get to see it because you're in the spotlight and your focus is the populace. So I thought the whole idea of writing a page was just it's like having a memory book online. And I went, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So well done for that. That was just something that I went, oh, must encourage other kings and queens to do that. So may steal that idea. So
Great way for us to share gifts too, that will stay there, and put thank yous and tag people in it and know that we've received it, and be able to thank people there for things that happened during that time, So I like being able to see all the pictures too, that everybody shares there as well. It's not just us putting out things, anybody posts pertinent. Someone just posted up hours of the sing-alongs and our how many hours, how many views, like 15,000 views, and of how many hours all of the classes and everything. So I was like,
it's like, it's working. So when you are queen, what do you miss about not being queen? Because we all know that as a royalty, there's a expectation of how you're supposed to behave. But do you miss the just getting, as a pelican, like getting into a kitchen and like helping or doing the paperwork, or what do you miss when you're a queen that you do normally?
I do volunteer at Gate when people come in and see them. I do that from time to time at smaller events. A lot of what happens though at the elevations, so I end up, helping set up. I do miss that. Helping set up. I've set up a lot of the elevations, like the tents and all that, and decorating. I like the decorating, and just more downtime with my family. But otherwise, no, I mean, it's all great. It's all.
I'm going to ask you if you have any want to travel across to Lockhart.
Sure. You are aware of I can't remember the explain. I can't. It's the group in Okinawa, or I'm sorry, in Thailand. It's in Thailand.
Yes.
I can picture their device perfectly. It's a yellow with multi-head. I don't know why their name is escaping me right now. Anywho, they're a Seneschal person, and he's actually one of the very few people that I'm friends with on Facebook that I haven't actually met in person. However, I was scheduled and had things happen, but plane tickets and all. I was going to go to Okinawa and stay on the beach with my friend who was in the military, and then fly to Thailand. And I was taking patterns, and, all kinds of stuff. I was actually going to stay with them at their place. So I love traveling with the SCA. I love it. So yeah, I'm totally
down. What would be one of the few things that you would like to see here?
I don't know. What are the best things?
It depends on the region. We're so vast. If you go to Perth, they have some of the most amazing sunsets because of where they're situated in the country. And they're resilient. Like the group in Perth are very resilient because they're so physically distant to the rest of Lockhart. If you go to Adelaide, they're known as the city of churches, so their architecture is amazing, and they have such a rich history, both from an Australian point of view and an SCA point of view. If you go to New Zealand, they are the most passionate people about their arts and sciences, and they're fighting, and they've got like the whole Lord of the Rings thing in one area. And like they'll catch hedgehogs for you. So I think, like you're saying, Trimaris is such a hospitable place to visit. We tend to have the similar outlook when people come to visit us, but we want you to enjoy your experience in Australia and New Zealand as much as possible, because we know it's been such a far distance to get to us that we want your holiday to be packed like as much as possible. So you need to request downtime.
That'd be great.
Have you met any other people from Lockhart?
I have years ago at Penzec, your royalty, but
did they leave an impression on you?
it was 30 years ago.
Fair enough.
They'll probably remember you.
I know that I would put it together. So.
And what would be one of the strangest things that you've heard about either New Zealand or Australia?
I've heard, well, besides the creepy crawlies.
There's a few.
Bears, don't they?
Sorry?
The little bears too that are so cute. I've heard that it looks like another planet. I've heard that a lot.
Really?
That, you know, the countryside, it looks like. So. I guess it's just different than everywhere else. But I think mostly the creepy crawly things, that a lot of little things that can kill you easily, I guess. We just have brown recluse and some snakes, but it sounds like you guys have pretty much come across it.
Depends where you live.
I don't know. I like my childhood was spent in Ireland and Scotland. And when I came out here, the fact that the grass bites you was a little bit of a shock to me. I walk around barefoot now most of the time anyway, but the thing is that we have like little plants that are called bindies, which is ironic because that's what Steve Irwin named his child. But they kind of dry out in the summer and leave little spurs and like sharp thorns that if you walk in, you actually get. So when I went to Penzec, one of the first thing I did was take my shoes off and walk in the grass because there was nothing I needed to worry about. So except for the fireflies, that was a little bit of a learning curve for me because you're probably aware Australia has a tendency to burn. It's our environment. And being at SCA events, we very fire conscious because a spark can actually set somebody's tent alight. So and I'd never experienced a firefly before. And I've spent the whole time kind of going, is that a spark? So the Americans found it very amusing to tease me. They could catch the sparks for me. I was like, thanks.
And mine is squirrels, because we don't have squirrels here, and they're fascinating, and they run everywhere. I love watching squirrels and chipmunks.
We have little lizards everywhere. And I was actually on a tour of a college with my daughter, and I didn't, I don't think about it. Someone was like, oh my goodness, lizards, they're chasing them. And I was like, they're just normal for us. They're everywhere, little lizards. They're really cute. So that's something that we have that's kind of weird. So story about Penzic. My family lived in Newcastle. I have my mom's high school ring. It's Newcastle, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
However, when I lived as a kid, I lived in New Wilmington, which is just outside. I lived in Newcastle and outside. And I moved a couple different places. My dad was in the military. But when I moved to Florida, I was at a fighter practice and somebody talking about Newcastle, Pennsylvania. And I was like, who even knows Newcastle, Pennsylvania? Right? Down, nothing happens there. And I remember when I was little, my grandmother going grocery shopping, said that the town was going to be invaded and we had to make sure we had food. And I was like, and she's like, the freaks are coming down, she's like, old. And so when I went to that fighter practice, it all came rushing in. I was like, oh my gosh, like, come on, I actually a lot of weird places in Newcastle because I lived there so long. Actually, I don't know if you know the little bridge that goes into Penzic. There's a little concrete bridge that has, so cars can't. My grandmother cracked her head open on it. So,
Oh, wow.
it's
You
a weird.
become one of invading forces.
I thought that was like, and then I started the SCA down here, and I was like, oh my goodness, and go out to Cooper's Lake all the time. It's very weird. And I actually took my grandma when she was 85, because and my husband and I flew in, and we took her to Penzic, and she gave all the fighters cookies as they came off the field. She was very sweet.
Oh, that's so lovely.
So we're running out of time, but I would like you to tell us your favorite SCA story, if you have one, that you tell to people about why you still play.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. There's so many reasons I still play. I don't have a specific story. A lot of them are not appropriate. I don't have a specific one. I'm so sorry. Not one that comes to mind. But the reason I still play, and the reason, being crowned again, I was already a duchess. It's just, we love to plan parties, and we love to see our friends, and we love to see our friends happy, and the giving and planning and the making the show, I guess. We're both, Kern and I, really enjoy that work aspect of it. But good story. I don't have a specific story.
I think that's a perfect explanation as to why you continue to play. There's definitely a generosity and a camaraderie and a community that we've realized after doing some of these interviews is very communal in all groups and all kingdoms, which is, and there's moments where, as you said, inappropriate things happen, but they make you laugh years later because it's just fanciful and fun, and life should be like that. So yes, I think that's a perfect way of explaining it. So
yeah, and it has been absolutely lovely to meet you. And for us, as Lil was saying about community, reaching out to extended family, that's very much how I feel the SCA is and has been, particularly with these interviews. I've been to Penzic lots. I have my SCA family over there, as well as all across Lockhart. and it's awesome to meet more people and join that family more.
This is aspect. You know, you're always with somebody new. You're gonna find something. You're gonna learn something new. And you know, with the traveling aspect, like you say, you have your family at Penzay. I actually have a tent and a bed and everything that is stored at Lily's, and they bring it out and they set it up for me in camp when I fly out there. And they're, you know, they're my family too. It's nice to be able to go anywhere and have that. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Queen Maisie. And thank you everybody for watching today. Don't forget to like and share our page, and we have another interview coming up in an hour with the Consuls of the East. So we look forward to seeing you there, and thank you again, Your Majesty.
Anytime you want to come to Lockhart, please get in contact with us and we will find somewhere for you to lay your head.
you open up, start looking at plane tickets. That sounds like a great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.